forgive me for this trap shit. Sergeant Smack make it backflip. Telly Hank it with the action. With the Vato speaking Spanish. Frank Matthews, how I vanish. Poof. Came back like I'm King Tut. Gold BBS is on a beamer. When Fat Cat was 10 queens up. Ball off the profit, not the re-up. Fly like Puerto Rican Jesus. Uptown like I'm Baby Maine. Just caught a touchdown from the Bay.
No boom, boom, boom. They don't even make gangsters like that. If that nigga got on your ass, nigga, if that nigga got on your ass, you had trouble, nigga. I swear for God, man. You had trouble with that nigga.
Like, he was the boogeyman of Flint. You know what I'm saying? Bone Skanless. Real boogeyman of Flint.
This is what I do on probation. I talk to the motherfucking feds, kiss my ass, suck my dick, all that good shit. I'm in the club.
There are just 6 cops patrolling the entire city of Flint. That translates into 80 homicides this past year, a 100% increase from the year before. Vehicle City is now America's murder city.
Just 70 miles northwest of Detroit and right off of I-75 North sits Flint, Michigan, a once prosperous and populated township thanks to General Motors and other factory jobs. But now it's a place where blight and decay infect nearly every block, and where people who live here have given it a different name: the Murder Mitten.
It's the murder
mitten, yeah, they call it the murder mitten.
Murder mitten.
Michigan shaped like a mitten.
Man, they kill your ass in a minute up in
It's
this
just so
motherfucker.
smart because you can't, if I get into you with you today and I leave, I'm gonna run into you at the mall. I'm gonna see you at Steak and Shake. I'm gonna see you at the hospital. I'm gonna see you somewhere. And if I feel like I'm mad at you that much, I don't care where it said it's gonna go down.
It's gonna go down.
We all got to pray on the same thing, and it's for us to return back to what it used to be. Well, it won't never get back to what it used to be, but we could get very close.
Flint used to be a wealthy industrial city that brought train cars full of workers from all over the country. But now those jobs are gone, the train tracks are broken and abandoned, and the sign that welcomed thousands now looks like this. And when those jobs moved out, violence, crimes, and guns moved in.
This is the #1 challenge facing the city. Everybody has been trying to tackle this serious challenge, and it's fueled by illegal firearms and guns and gangs and drugs and the deadly combination that all that combines.
My friend got shot in front of me on my porch. You see that happen, you be like, oh shit, it's a body in front of me. It's bleeding. You don't know what to do but call the ambulance.
According to the 2013 population estimate from the U.S. Census, the city's population has dropped below 100,000 for the first time since the 1920s. And 40% of the people still here live below the poverty line. It's like an abandoned city, but people sit on almost every porch.
Contrary to what most people may believe, most states in America don't even have one city that ranks in the top 100 nationally for violent crimes or homicide. That's how rare it is. The kind of violence that dominates a city usually, statistically and culturally, tends to stay isolated. One city, one block, one neighborhood, one crisis. But then you have exceptions to that. And in 2023, I would say Alabama became one of them. And to most people in the public, when you mention that high murder rate that occurred in Alabama, they'll always scream out the cities Birmingham, Mobile, and the Gump, Montgomery, all mentioned major cities with long-standing reputations for violence. But the real story kind of lives in the places that don't make the national news, the ones you don't really hear about when the body count becomes too big to ignore. And in a place like Alabama, that's going to be Anniston and Bessemer, small cities with violent crime rates that rival the worst in the country. The kind of place where violence is extra consistent and the headlines don't really tell a story. So that's what I'm here for. Bessemer is consistently ranked in the top 3 for most dangerous cities in America, often coming in either 1 or 2 per capita. And then you have Anniston regularly places within the top 15 for most dangerous cities per capita, depending on the year. As a matter of fact, last year, according to security.org, Anniston and Bessemer would secure the very top 2 positions, Anniston ranking number 1 and Bessemer ranking number 2 nationally for violent crime per 1,000 residents. But when you get outside of Alabama and its recent spike, the list kind of gets short and fast, with only a handful of states having multiple cities that would consistently rank amongst the top 100 for murder and violent crimes. But a few states would stand out, and when I mention the cities, you would probably understand why, with Louisiana being one of them, with New Orleans, Baton Rouge, and Shreveport. The state has seen decades of bloodshed, with gunfire being almost an everyday occurrence in some neighborhoods. And then you have a place like Missouri and its 2 cities, St. Louis and Kansas City, that just don't appear on the rankings. They really dominate them, especially the murder rate. Year after year, they kind of sit at the top, repeating the cycle of turf wars, drug killings, and unsolved homicides that had pretty much turned urban violence in some neighborhoods to the way of life. And then the focus would shift north to the heart of the Midwest, Michigan, or the Murder Mitten. Most people point straight to Detroit, a city that was once crowned the murder capital of America. But just like I spoke about with Alabama recently, the violence doesn't always live where the spotlight shines. Because honestly speaking, the 2 most dangerous cities in Michigan might not even be Detroit. It might just even be Flint or Saginaw. For a decade, these 2 cities have quietly posted some of the highest per capita violent crime rates in the country. Places where general poverty, economic collapse, and street warfare have created a climate where murder really isn't news no more. That shit is just normal. And these cities aren't cities that's just having a bad year. They're living through a bad decade. And in fact, Flint, over the years, some would even go on to call it Little Beirut, a direct reference to the relentless gunfire, boarded up homes, and war zone atmosphere that gripped the city block by block. And during one of the most violent times in Flint's history, there would be a man whose name would be spoken in fear, a figure that would haunt the city. Some would even call him the boogeyman of Flint. But the twist is, he wasn't from Flint at all. He was from Saginaw.
I send bazookas through you. Not only will I smoke him, Skanless bazooka smoke him.
But Bone Skanless RIP to him, man, but that nigga was a real gangster nigga, no lie, no boom, boom, boom. They don't even make gangsters like that. If that nigga got on your ass, nigga, if that nigga got on your ass, you had trouble, nigga. I swear for God, man. You had trouble if that nigga if that nigga was coming at you, man, if you was with your baby mama in the grocery store, whatever. He was just that type of nigga, man. And I hated to see my nigga go, because every time I kicked it with him, I always told him he was a good rapper too, but as good as he was a rapper, he was Skanless too. He just was that type of nigga, man. He grew up in the slums, man. And I talked to him. He stayed 2 houses down from me, and I tell him he'd come fuck with me and everything, man. I couldn't deal with him I couldn't deal with him like I wanted to deal with him because he was so scandalous. Shit, I thought just sitting there smoking the blunt with him, a motherfucker might have took a chance to just get shot up. Just he was just that scandalous that where man, I couldn't even fuck with my peeps like that because it was like just being around him. I was just like
you
damn.
never knew.
I just felt like bam. I felt like the situation was like, being somewhere at the wrong time, like bam, that's just the way I thought, man. But he was just such a raw nigga like that, man. He just, you know what I'm saying? He was the real deal.
When Motown Records packed up and left Detroit in the early 1970s, it would take more than music with it. And for decades, Michigan's voice and reference of national music attention would be left out of a conversation that it seemed like they started. But by the turn of the millennium, a new sound would emerge from the ashes of Motown when Eminem would release the Marshall Mathers LP that went on to dominate the charts and radio airwaves, finally thrusting the city of Detroit back into cultural relevance, kinda. And then you had his group D12 that was signed to Shady Records, followed by Obi Trice. And then you even had close associate to Eminem, Royce da 5'9", allegedly going on to sign a 7-figure deal with Tommy Boy Records. And all of a sudden, Michigan wasn't just back, it had a few dogs in the race. But at that time, while the streets was just beginning to recognize Detroit's reemergence, the streets had already been listening, as 2 years before everything that I just mentioned, in 1998, the Street Lords would release the iconic Platinum Rollies Don't Tick Tock. The project would never chart, but it never had to. In Detroit, it was in rotation everywhere, and it would go on to be one of the most iconic projects released from the city. Now, I want y'all to keep in mind that at this particular time, most states didn't even have a single rapper signed to a major label, but Michigan would have multiple, and that motion wouldn't just be limited to Detroit. In post-industrial cities like Flint and Saginaw, a separate wave would go on to take shape. Even before Eminem's debut in 1999 with the Slim Shady LP, Flint's own The Dayton Family would go on to sign with Relativity Records, releasing What's on My Mind in 1995 and FBI in 1996. The projects wouldn't garner many radio hits, but they would go on to be regional staples, echoing throughout the Midwest. And then there was the Skambino mob, Bone Skanless from Saginaw and Young Keith from Flint. Together, they would bring a kinda unpolished but aggressive sound to Michigan's underground, with songs like Killers on Your Team, featuring another artist from Flint by the name of Jake the Flake that would go on to become a kinda unofficial anthem of the area. And in the year 2000, and what I would consider probably the height of the group, they would release Playing for Keeps, an independent album that would quickly grow legs with them pushing it throughout the city. And from my understanding, it would be the buzz from that specific project that would land the group a deal with Tommy Boy Records, alongside acts like Queen Latifah, Digital Underground, Naughty by Nature, Coolio, House of Pain, Stetsasonic, amongst others. But based on Bone's reputation or everything that I heard and read, I'm assuming it was prior. But just as soon as the doors would open up for the group, their trajectory would falter. And it wouldn't be because of skill or even lyrical ability. If you was to ask anybody with any familiarity to the group, they would tell you it was mainly based on Bone Skanless's reputation and ties to criminal activity. Because by all accounts, he wasn't just a nigga rapping about the shit. In the year 2002, 2 years after the group would secure their deal, Bone Skanless would be charged with murder and the shooting death of a 29-year-old man by the name of Maurice Baker, a murder that he would be acquitted of. But that was only the beginning. The next year, in 2003 or so, he was shot 5 times at close range in what the media would report as a targeted attack. And then 2 years after that, 2005, he would be arrested for home invasion and have to serve some time. And from the outside looking in, it just looks like the streets that built their name kinda was also closing in on their future. In a city like Flint, even though Bone Skanless had a record deal, his reputation had kind of grown larger than the music itself, even though he was talking some of the most gangster shit. But it's the stories around him that's always gonna make him larger than life in a place like Flint. Some may be true, others, who knows? But what we do know for sure is in the streets, perception often matters more than proof. And sometimes with some people, the rumors are just more compelling than the facts.
After she was killed, but before her funeral, shots was fired at his home and a female friend was injured. In 2002, Bone Skanless was acquitted of a 2001 murder of a Flint man, and in 2004 was charged with armed robbery of a home invasion. Bone, let me tell y'all this infamous story about Bone Skanless. Let me finish reading this though. He was sentenced to jail after pleading guilty on weapons charges. With a couple of days, his partner was also murdered and dumped on his aunt's porch. So after Bone got killed, a couple of days later, Key got killed. And it was crazy. And when Key got killed, they dumped Key body butt naked on his aunt's porch. Like, Bone Skanless was acquitted of a 2001 murder. Let me tell y'all a story about Bone that I heard. You know what I'm saying? And this is a true story. And I heard this story from reliable sources who was there, who was on the scene, like who seen it, who know, who he told the stories to and everything. Let me tell y'all. They said, you know what I'm saying, this is what I heard, you know what I'm saying? And Bone, rest in peace to his soul, he's gone now, you know what I'm saying? So can't nobody get in trouble or nothing now. Bone Skanless, they said it was a crime scene going on in a street in Flint where police was at and everything. A crime scene. Just imagine this crime scene going on, police, everybody right here at this crime scene. Down the street while this crime scene going on, they said Bone had somebody in the car with him down the street from the crime scene. And Bone ended up killing my man in the car. You know what I'm saying? Pushed him out or whatever. And the legend, the story is that the police end up getting Bone right then. But he ended up beating it. And the reason he ended up beating it because I'm not sure, you know what I'm saying? They said somebody was with him, with Bone when it happened. And Bone told the police that it was self-defense. And the dude that was with Bone, he said it was self-defense too, but it really wasn't self-defense, you know what I'm saying? And Bone ended up beating that case. Like, he was the boogeyman of Flint, you know what I'm saying? Bone Skanless, real boogeyman of Flint.
I'm back out, I'm popping. It's my nigga J-Mob. Skambino run to the school, man. That's how we represent it. The first part of us really real. These girls and us. That's what I'm telling you. Untouchable. Check me out. None but untouchable cuts. They give you waves, they give you a nice little lining. I'm telling you, the baddest motherfucking barbers you ever want to see. Flat out. Deal with it. This is what I do on probation. Shouts out to the motherfucking fans, kiss my ass, suck my dick, all that good shit. I'm in the club.
Tragically, just 2 weeks prior, Bone Skanless would attend the funeral of his 5-year-old niece, Nyana Shanae Jones, on July 6, 2006. Nyana and her 9-year-old sister, Tiana, were riding in the back seat of a Mercury Sable during a test drive in Genovese Township. Their aunt and 18-year-old cousin would sit up front, while a 23-year-old by the name of Edward C. Williams, an employee at Universal Audio Sales, would sit in the back with the children. As the car was moving along East Carpenter Road around 2:30 p.m., it would catch the attention of 3 men, Michael Boo Boo Smith, Felton June Seeley, and Anthony J. Reed, police would say the trio would recognize Williams as a known adversary to the group and open fire on the vehicle. Nyana would be struck in the head and killed instantly. Tiana would be wounded, and Williams would manage to flee, jumping out of the vehicle at a nearby convenience store, escaping into another car, leaving unharmed. Now, I'm sure if you asked some of the people in Flint at that time what happened after this, it would probably sound like Menace to Society after Harold got killed. But 2 weeks later, on July 28, 2006, Bone Skanless would be gunned down outside his home on Alma Avenue in Flint. A woman with him at the time would also be critically wounded. The articles I would read on his death would say it sent shockwaves through the city. But sounding like the type of nigga that Bone was, it might have been expected. But I'm sure what wasn't expected is less than 72 hours after Bone's death, the other founding member of the Skambino mob, Marcus Young Key Mosley, would be found shot to death on Lawndale Avenue near Dayton Street and allegedly tossed on his aunt's porch. The originating members of the mob wiped out in less than 3 days. Long before the tragedy, the project Playing for Keeps was already a stamped classic in the city of Flint and respected amongst Midwest hip-hop circles. But what would happen in the immediate aftermath of their deaths would make it clear that their voices would travel far beyond Michigan. According to the Flint Journal, immediately following the murders of the Skambino mob members, and 6 to 7 years from the release of their debut project, it would jump nearly 200,000 spots on Amazon. Now, all my people from Flint or from Saginaw or that been to Flint and Saginaw, y'all get downstairs in the comment box and let these people know, because I promise you, they think it just happens in Detroit. Anybody hip to the Skambino mob and Bone Skanless, we definitely need y'all downstairs in the VIP section ASAP. Y'all make sure y'all hit that red bell right under this video so y'all know when this real Trail Spill shit is dropping. Y'all get in the comment box below. Y'all let me know what cities we need to go to, what stories we need to tell, what we missed, what we got wrong, all of that. Y'all tapping with me directly on Instagram, Twitter, POP_A_LOT. And until our next jug, y'all know how we rocking. Shades Popalot. Salute the almighty mob.